Hi, guys. Welcome back to Murder in Retrograde. We are so happy to be back. And we've got, funny enough, two cases in Colorado, which I find to be funny because you moved there and now we're just covering all the cases. But yes, and as always, I just want to let you know, like, we talk about graphic things and like may not be suitable or appropriate for everyone. So just so you know, we do talk true
Yes.
crime, murder, stuff
And
with
if your
like
kids
that's
are around,
sensitive. So just keep that in mind.
yes. So for our first case, we were looking about Jepsy Kallungi. Is that how you pronounced it, Jenna?
Jepsy, and then the last name I don't know, Kallungi.
Yeah. So Jepsy was a 26-year-old in 2017. She moved to Colorado Springs from the Philippines after meeting Dane Kalungi on a dating site. So she moved from the Philippines to Colorado to marry him. Public records indicate Dane and Jepsy filed for divorce in 2018, so a year later. The case was closed without resolution in January of 2019, just 2 months before Jepsy disappears. Jepsy's mother, Margie, became concerned when Jepsy suddenly stopped replying to Facebook Messenger texts on March 20th, 2019. Shortly thereafter, she was first reported missing by her family on April 4th, 2019. On that same day, April 4th, 2019, the Colorado Springs Police Department launched an investigation into Jepsy's disappearance, which good for them because this doesn't always happen. And we've heard about so many stories where it takes a very long time and lots of convincing, not to say that there's anything the cops are doing wrong, just because they're so inundated. So
Yeah, and I
happy to
think
hear that the cops.
I think once you're an adult too, it's like a fine line of like, do they want to be missing or are they truly missing? And yeah, I think the police department did the right thing by jumping on it. And maybe there was something that to them said this is something to be taken seriously. We won't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So the police record an astonishing conversation between Jepsy's now ex-husband Dane and his first wife, according to case documents obtained by CBS 4. He said, quote, "I can't believe I did that." And I'm like, there's no way I did that, but I did do that. Dane Oliver Kalungi is alleged to have told his first wife as detectives listened in. Like, I mean, really? Okay. So he went on to explain to his wife how he allegedly strangled 28-year-old Jepsy, put her body in the trunk of his car, and drove her body into the mountains and buried her.
Yeah, and really quick,
So,
just on a side note, I did read that during this time, it seems that it would have made sense on the timeline that he allegedly buries her and then there was a snowstorm that came through. So that obviously is problematic. So that
yeah,
happened right
for
around the same
DNA,
time.
for evidence, for, I mean, even finding the body because animals, are
Yeah.
foraging and all of that. So, yeah, that's devastating. But they had this recorded conversation. So Dane Klunge, age 38, was arrested June 16th while at Kirtland Air Force Base property on in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he faces a first-degree murder charge.
But we don't
Here,
have she's not we haven't found her yet though. That's the thing. Like to this day, there's no body. So what if he takes back his confession or like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's very
it's
dicey.
very hard to get a conviction with nobody. It's really hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And I think once you have a conviction, juries tend to listen to that. But yeah, they are getting more hip to like CSI shows and people that are accused and didn't do it, and Lord knows defense attorneys are so fancy with how they come up with he was on drugs and he didn't mean
Oh
to
yeah.
say that. So I guess we'll have to wait and see for the trial. But he goes into his own words to describe that night and warning again, this is distressing, but he says to his first wife, I grabbed her, and I guess it was just like a second where I got pissed off, but I didn't even feel that pissed off. It was like I just turned around and was like, shut up. I was sick of it. I mean, really, I was just trying to like literally stop the words from coming out of her mouth for a second. And then I realized that I did that for more than a second. Everything he says in there is rage,
Yeah.
mania. I mean, those types of things where I just wanted them to stop. And those are the types of things you hear from, uh, abnormal people, people that think in an abnormal way, right?
Yeah.
That's it sounds
It's
like a
almost like he's
child.
justifying it too. Like he's like, well, I was just, I don't know. It's like when it feels like he's trying to justify like what he does. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like a child. Like a child will step on a bug. Why did you do that? Because it was coming towards me. Like
Mm,
no thought. I'm only
yeah.
thinking about myself.
Yeah.
So, just crazy the amount of detail that he went into. He went on to describe what he did next. Quote, I was digging until like 3 a.m. or something because it was all muddy and really hard to dig in some places. And I started freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to be driving through here because it's not the middle of the night anymore. So, like that, you're not thinking about your wife and thinking
No,
like, oh my
but you
God, how
did.
did I
It's
get
like,
to this point in my life? You're thinking like, oh my gosh, it's going to be daylight soon. Like
I'm gonna get caught.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's really crazy, strange thinking. Dane Kallungi allegedly said in a pre-taped phone call with his ex-wife on April 3rd, quote, so yeah, I drove to like, and I apologize for all the likes, but he
No,
really
that's
did
what,
say
no,
this.
this is quoting. It's not you.
Yes. I drove to like the Florissant area on back road, got lost like 4 different back roads, and then found where I could. I just went down, found a spot, dug a hole as deep as I could. End quote.
I mean, the thing I will say is that if it was close enough to a road, I feel like that might help at least when the police are trying to like, figure out where to look. That it couldn't have been too
But
uh,
he said back road, and the back roads here,
uh
they're all over the place, and it's so vast, it's impossible. Like you can't even tell it is a back road because there's snow and there's overgrowth, like every season. So I
yeah.
think it would be really I mean, it's a good point if it was like a regular road, but a back
Yeah.
road, who knows?
Oh man. So on July 2nd, detectives with the Colorado Springs Police Department and other law enforcement began their search for Jepsy's body in Teller County. And sadly, their search ended July 4th and they couldn't locate her remains. And those details were, going back to the ex-wife. So he's confessing all this stuff to her, and the police were like, well, she's going to be one to corroborate because in 2015 there was a report of him grabbing her, the first wife, by the neck during an argument, lifting her 6 feet off or I'm sorry, 6 inches off the floor and throwing her aside like a rag doll. And so this was all been reported. So I'm sure, and like good for her for speaking up because she obviously knows with her experience how violent he can be. And then for him to say he did all these things to this other woman, it's crazy. But the
Just really quick, it says that they started searching on July 4th and they ended the search when they couldn't locate remains on July 4th. Sorry, they started on the 2nd, ended on the 4th. It's only 2 days. I wonder
yeah,
if like, and it's the middle of the summer. It's not like there were an issue with snow. It could have been raining, but I wonder if they got information that maybe they weren't going to find it, or it's just kind of strange to me
I
that it
don't
was
know.
only two
There's not a
days.
ton of information kind of being released, and maybe that's for the better. Maybe there is stuff that we just aren't privy to yet.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything I could see of like why, but like you said, I mean, if you're on a back road in the middle of freaking nowhere, like how do you figure out where to start and stop? Like I can't imagine trying to figure that out and knowing that someone's, I don't know, it's
Yeah,
a
like think
lot.
of you and I were just in Arizona a few months ago and just driving around.
A few months ago, they
You
were
can't
like,
help but think
sorry, I was
3 weeks
laughing.
ago?
It was like less than a month ago.
Oh my gosh, I want to go back. We
Sorry.
went to just a little ADD sidebar. We went to a spa to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of Murder in
Anniversary. What is it?
Retrograde.
Podcast anniversary.
Oh yeah, when we got there, the hotel said "Happy Podiversary." We thought it was really cute.
So
So
cute.
anyway, there's just it's endless amount of space. I think about that all the time. Like those rescue searchers, like when they actually find things, it's astounding. I just can't imagine having to live through. I guess it's probably easier now with drones, but still,
Or
it's not
even,
easy.
yeah, no, it's a lot. And I don't know what kind of resources they have, if maybe like ground penetrating radar can be used, or I don't know. There really wasn't a ton of information yet. I mean, this is still somewhat new, like within the last 2 years that things have kind of been coming along, chugging along. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
more will come out. But the reason I think that this all happened was Jepsy was described to have a discomfort about the way that Dane and his first wife had a close relationship. They have a child. So I think for people who don't have children and don't understand what that takes, there can be levels of jealousy or who knows, but there's some sort of uncomfortable feelings there. But then investigators also interviewed a soldier from the Fort Carson Army base who said that he had dropped Jepsy off at her apartment after being intimate with her that day of her disappearance. And so investigators basically suggest that when she got dropped off, Dane was obviously upset that she was with another man, and that could have led to said argument, then led
Which,
to her
by the way,
disappearance.
she was completely entitled to because they were
Yeah.
divorced. You know, they were no longer married. She was entitled to do whatever she wanted, just in case anyone was confused by that.
Even if not, guess what? This stuff happens all the time. You don't kill somebody. There's this thing called like divorce, separate, don't live together. There's so many other options. The fact that this happens so frequently in relationships is terrifying. It really is. Like, I don't know. Some people seem to just think murder over divorce. Like that's like the go-to. I don't understand.
I
So,
can't imagine.
so like I said, there's not a ton of information in this case that I could really find, but I definitely want to keep, our thumb on the pulse of it. And they were, they've been looking for her. It's never really stopped. I think I'm going to say when they find her remains, then things will progress more.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you guys updated and kind of anything that's going on. And yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like because of it happening in like
And
2019,
then
then
COVID and
COVID,
yeah.
like you always said, it's probably, sorry, at a standstill for the moment, but we will keep everybody, um, what's the word? I was gonna
Updated.
say abreast, but that's so, so old school. All right, so that brings us to our next case, which is an update of a case that we covered originally in episode 31 of Murder in Retrograde. But so much has happened since
So
this
much.
case, so we wanted to give you an update. This is the case of missing woman Suzanne Morphew, again, also in Colorado.
Mhm.
If you'll remember, if not, please go back and listen because it was a fantastic episode, just as all of our episodes are. But Suzanne's husband, Barry, told police Suzanne went for a bike ride near their $1.75 million Colorado home and never returned. Barry seemed to have a loose alibi about working and staying in a hotel in downtown Denver during the time, which would have been about an hour away.
Mhm.
Eventually, Barry was arrested on May 5th and was originally charged with murder after deliberation, tampering with physical evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant. Recently, additional charges came out accusing Morphew of submitting a fraudulent vote on behalf of his wife, Suzanne. And who do you think he voted for? He took her ballot after she was gone and voted for Trump. But anyway, that's another story. I'm not going to go there.
Pivot.
So it's just an interesting thing to throw in there, to show this guy's morals and ethics. But last month, there was a hearing because the 11th Judicial District Chief Judge Patrick Murphy sealed Morphew's arrest affidavit. So a lot more information was released in regards to the case, which we will now cover. The master bedroom looked like there had been forced entry from outside of that room. He also found a .22 caliber unspent shell on Suzanne's side of the bed. Pretty damning. What else,
Oh, it
Jenna?
gets more, right? So there's also empty tranquilizer darts found in the garage inside of a dryer. And what was in the dryer was their daughter's sheets had been stripped off the daughter's bed and thrown in the washer and dryer. So they found all of the sheets and the darts, empty darts in the dryer. And he had said like he used them for shooting like
Squirrels.
weapons and stuff. Yeah. So then why are they in the dry? It was very strange. Um, but during cross-examination by one of Morphew's attorneys, he had said that they found no tranquilizer chemical in the house and there was no way to know how long the cap had been in the dryer. So again, like just trying to create that doubt. Morphe said he didn't know how it could have gotten in there because, I don't know. That was just, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And then photos of Suzanne's Range Rover showed that was in their garage, what showed that her purse had remained inside and she contained her medical card, driver's license, credit cards, and cash. And that's important because she had a cancer treatment appointment like later that day, and she would have
Yeah.
needed all of those things. So even if,
And she never missed it. She was very on top of it. It was very important to her. Both of us have known people dealing with cancer. That's a serious red flag when you miss an appointment like that.
yeah. So then surveillance footage had showed Barry Morphew making several trash runs at various locations along the highway. And he told investigators, quote, "I'm a tightwad and I don't want to pay for trash pickup. I work so much where my truck becomes my trash truck." I mean, there were
He has
several
a
stops.
$1.75 million house, and he's, what did he
Well,
say?
he's
A
a
tightwad?
tightwad. Yeah, but don't we later find out? Didn't we find out when we first did this, like a lot of they had money troubles, right?
Oh,
So
they had serious money troubles.
I don't know. But
Oh,
there was like
man.
not to jump the gun, but on one of his trash things, they were saying it wasn't like he was just like throwing in like one or two, it was like several. And then on one of them, he like pushed down the trash. It's like, what are you trying? That to me is like you're hiding something. Like, I don't ever shove things, especially to a public trash bin. Like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, the
So
only time I've driven around to throw something away is like after feeling horrible about myself and eating in and out and being like, I have to throw this away immediately. That's where you dump evidence. It's not, nobody just pulls off to throw trash away.
unless the only other reason I feel like people do it is when there's something bulky and then you go and you try and drive around and find where you're going to dispose of it.
Yes, that's true. That's when I understand being a tightwad because it's so difficult to get the trash people to come up and pick up one big thing, even though they promise they will. But no, was throwing all bags in multiple areas, exactly like our other case.
Oh, Jennifer Dulos.
Jennifer Dulos. Her
Same.
husband and his girlfriend stopped multiple times on one street. Like, hello, it's so obvious.
I mean, they didn't collect anything that we know of, so it is circumstantial, right? But like, so shady. Denver Post stated that prosecutors also played body camera footage that showed Barry inside the family's home on May 10th, 2020, the evening his wife was reported missing. And the sheriff's deputies escorted Barry Morphew inside so they could get an item of the wife's clothing for tracking dogs. And the undersheriff, Andy, he said that Morphew acted oddly while they were in the house that evening. And it was the first time that Morphew had been in the house since his wife was reported missing. And he said, and the sheriff quoted, "He's not even trying to call her cell phone. This is the last place, according to his testimony, that he's seen his wife alive, and he's not asking any questions," which does seem odd, right? Like if I'm in my house after something like that happened, I'd be looking around, like trying to see if anything looks awry or something's missing. And
Oh,
They
I'd
said
be
that,
tearing that place apart. And another hit thing he said was right when she was missing, he was like, it must have been a mountain lion. It must
oh
have been a
yeah,
mountain lion. He was really pushing that idea because they only found her bike. They didn't
yeah,
find her. And so he had this whole story. Who runs up to the bike? I'd be like, what? Why is the bike here? What's going on? Like, he was throwing out these random ideas that didn't make any sense. And it makes sense to me that the cops were like, what's going on here?
yeah. He's weird. He didn't act like a person whose wife is missing, that's for sure. And then investigators searched for Suzanne's journal, which a friend said that she had kept, but it was never found. The investigators found what appeared to be remnants of book bindings in the home fireplace, along with fragments of
So he burned
paper.
them.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
Barry had said that Suzanne had been cleaning out filing cabinets that week. So that's why there was.
I'm sorry, no woman is burning her trash in her house because she has to clean up all of that crap. That's what a man does. So dumb.
Well, I mean, murdering someone, you've got some screw looses, allegedly murdering someone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that's what happens. People seem to panic and they just start throwing out all this shit. It's like they don't realize it looks so obvious.
Yeah.
Um, a few days into the hearing, photos showing his hands and arms visibly injured in the days following the maid disappearance. Law enforcement officials saying he shed, quote, crocodile tears during the investigation and even asked about getting immunity if he opened up to investigators. You
Wow.
can't say that and not be like, but I'm innocent. Like, what?
Wow.
It's so crazy. And so then the undersheriff Andy again wrote I'm just calling him Andy. I don't know how to say his last name. Testified that Barry Morphew's upper arms looked as if it had fingernail injuries. And the photos were taken. There are 3 abrasions or cuts that were scabbing over. So they were fresh. And then outside of his hands were injuries in various stages of healing. So his hands could be some from work, but also like, you know, this. So that doesn't help him at all.
No.
The testimony presented by prosecutors so far suggests that they believe Barry Morphew killed Suzanne Morphew on May 9th, 2020, the day before Mother's Day, before leaving for work in the Denver area the following morning, stopping at several trash bins. So that trash bin footage, I think, is what kind of said, okay, then he's getting rid of evidence of a crime that's already happened at this point. And then the former FBI agent Jonathan Grusing pointed to a 6-hour time period between May 9th and 10th when Barry Morphew would have had time to dispose of a body. He would have had a 3-hour round trip to get back home. So again, showing all of this, he had time and opportunity and all the things. And then in
And
previous,
also,
go ahead.
sorry, it's terrible that he had those scratches, but it's also a saving grace if we find her body because that means his DNA is under her
Fingernail,
nails, and that's
100%.
wonderful evidence.
100%. And then in previous testimony and the hearing outlined a troubled marriage between the couple and that Suzanne had discussed divorce with friends and told them she didn't feel safe with him. And I know you're going to give us some more information on that, but it all lines up. It really does. It again, why not just divorce? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand.
There was one
And
more
let's
thing
not
that they
forget,
found.
sorry, I just want to back up. They have 2 daughters, and these daughters are adults or teenagers at the very least. And it's like, does that not pop into your brain at any point that like you're you're robbing your children of one and possibly
Clearly
2
not.
parents?
If he used one of the girl's sheets, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
That's horrific. And
Terrible.
some more evidence that came out during these hearings is was evidence from these things are amazing when they are involved in the crime because it gives you a perfect timeline. She wore a Fitbit.
Hmm.
So they know the GPS location, and on that day that they believe he killed her, her GPS is going all over the house, quickly all over the house. So they believe he was chasing after her, and she was running around. And so that's, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him to explain that. They've already brought it up, and he said that's when he said he was running around chasing squirrels, and she was helping him. It's just like so crazy. So they have a lot of evidence.
Yeah.
Messages from Suzanne to her best friend were read in court also, supporting the rocky relationship theory. One text revealed in court, quote, "He's not stable. It's guilt and desperate measures he's taking. My heart is aching for what he did today. She and I had a peaceful, fun week. He came in and wrecked it. He looks for any reason to run. It can be small, and he blows up and takes off. I can't win with him. He's too good at manipulation. I feel stuck." It's very scary that she says he blows up. You know what I mean?
Also,
Like, that's
too,
somebody with a temper.
I think we don't know for sure, but I believe she's referring to one of her daughters. Like we had a good day. Cause this is the other thing that I read is that when they would get in arguments, he would try to like turn her daughters against her,
Mm,
which is so terrible.
terrible. Also discovered in testimony, Suzanne had sent Barry a text message days before her disappearance saying, quote, "I'm done. Could care less about what you've been up to for years. We need to figure this out civilly." In response to his wife's text that she was done with the relationship, Morphew responded, "I promise you, you are wrong about all the crazy thoughts about me. Why would I want another? Only a fool would stray from an angel like you." So now that we know that this man is this angry,
Yeah.
after getting a text message saying, "I'm done," that he's going to say an angel like you, like, no, that's
Creepy.
scary.
Creepy.
And then comes out a very shocking detail. Suzanne Morphew was having a 2-year affair with a married man, father of 6 children, named Jeff Libler. I think he lived in Michigan. On May 9th, the day before she went missing, she allegedly sent him a photo of herself sunbathing, and she was texting back and forth with him. And
I guess
nobody would have.
Sorry, I'm
Go ahead.
interrupting. When they showed this picture of her sunbathing, which is clearly the last picture of her daughters were in the courtroom and they, I guess, just like burst into tears. Like the second they saw this photo, it's like it probably just hit so close to home that you know what I mean? Oh, so sad to see or to read.
Yeah,
Sorry.
terrible. But the interesting part about this is the cops said the FBI agent, they never would have found out that she was having an affair, but she bought a spy pen. So at one of those pens from, Brookstone or something that records, and she put it in Barry's truck to try to catch him because she thought he was cheating on her, which is typical, right? You're cheating, you think the other person's cheating. But the only thing that was captured on this pen was a conversation between Suzanne and Jeff. And they're talking about their affair and they're talking about all of that. And she deleted that because you can delete the messages, but they stay. So the cops were able to extract that. And they said, other than that, they never would have known she was having an affair.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
So even if you have one of those spy pens and you've erased your message, it's still there. So she had been having a 2-year affair, and also this man knew Barry. I'm pretty sure they went to high school together, or somehow they knew each other. Barry Morphew claimed he wasn't aware of the affair until after Suzanne went missing. On the stand, FBI agent Kenneth Harris mentioned a search of Barry Morphew's phone had revealed deleted web history. Watching closely, Morphew sat in his chair as Harris described a web visit to Ashley Madison, a site that describes itself as a dating service for people who are married or in relationships. Aren't you surprised women haven't come out that have said that they're having an affair? I mean, you don't want to come out and say, "Oh, I was with that murderer," but still.
Yeah, no, it's just, I love that he like sits up and takes an interest. He clearly doesn't know what, I mean, they're obviously just proving their case right now, but
what a narcissist.
He's so bad. He's so terrible. He is so terrible. Morphew is being held in Chaffee. How do you say that?
It's Chaffee.
Chaffee County Jail without bail and is waiting trial. Morphew was arrested May 2021, nearly a year to the day of Suzanne's disappearance. He's being held on the charges of murder in the first degree, tampering with a deceased human body, tampering with physical evidence, possession of a dangerous weapon, attempt to influence a public servant, forgery of public records, and misdemeanor elections mail ballot offense. I still am waiting to kind of figure out what happened with the whole public servant things. I remember we covered that in the first episode, but we weren't really sure what
It
he
came out
did.
in the hearing. He had asked somebody, it was about the immunity.
Oh,
And he
oh,
asked
oh.
somebody, if I reveal information, can I get immunity, which is uh attempting to influence a public servant.
Oh my God.
So,
Goodness.
this guy did a lot of crappy stuff and luckily made tons of mistakes, and I don't see him getting out. But interestingly, during the entire hearing, his daughters have been by his side in the courtroom. Yeah, they're still backing him.
Oh,
It's the only parent they have left.
I know, but like if if there's a history of behaviors and then do you know what I mean? And I know it's like a denial and probably protecting yourself, but like, oh my God, don't stand by him. I
I
wonder though, they're just
know.
waiting for him to be convicted and then maybe they'll wake up. I can't even imagine being in that situation,
No.
but that's
At
sad.
least they have each other. At least they have each other.
No, 100%. And I just wish that other men who do these terrible things left as many clues behind because not to get into it, but Maya Malete or Millet, however you say he made like no errors, it seems like, because they still haven't found her, still has his kids. It's crazy. So,
Well, we wouldn't know if he made any errors because, unlike the Colorado Springs police, that the day they came to them, they started looking for her.
yeah.
They just, oh, she's probably somewhere else. Oh, they didn't want to look for her, which I
Yeah.
feel like has something to do with the husband being connected to somebody. He must
Yeah.
have a connection.
It's sad. It's sad.
He
I
still
hope
hasn't been arrested,
no.
right?
He's only been oh my God, named a person of interest. That's pretty much the
Finally, which even
latest.
that took so long.
So long. Yeah, yeah, took so long. They need to get it together. But also,
Yeah.
like I don't think they even have. There's no Fitbits, no phones, no none of these things to help point them in any sort of direction. So I'm just hoping one of these days they're gonna find her because
I
it's just
know.
that man needs to be held accountable or whoever
Something's got to
did it.
happen. Yeah, for sure.
So
Because we
anyway,
cover way too many of these stories.
it's too much. And I just wish that we always like to say like things that we can help, right? And in these cases, they're kind of in the middle of it. So there's not really anything we can do to help these things. But I guess on a bigger scale, like support domestic violence, places that would, help
Yeah.
out in those situations. Or if you know someone who's in a situation where the husband or wife, spouse is abusive, try to be a support for them, like do whatever you can to help these people get out of these situations, because it
Most helpful thing is
happens
to
too
let
much.
people know you're a safe space.
Yeah.
Always let people know you're a safe space and that they can always come to you. And I mean, I just wish it became like everything. I feel like a lot of taboos are falling and we're starting to talk a lot more about things, and we're shining the light on racism. We need to shine the light on domestic violence, and it's such a stigma. And there's so many people, I've been guilty of it, that think like, how could you stay with that? But I haven't had their life, I haven't had their
It
experience, I
is
don't
mass
know what they
manipulation.
grew up with.
No, it's
Yeah,
manipulation
and
at its
if
finest. Like there's always the good, right? So that way that they justify the bad. It's like the craziest mind fuck of all time. And none of us, unless you're in it, can understand it. And I get like
yeah,
if
and
you
that's
don't
why I
want to,
wish more people talked about it.
yeah. And I feel like if you don't want to be involved, I understand that too. But like support a shelter or support something, some sort of entity that would support these people when
Yeah,
needed.
they need clothes. They need cell phones are not the number one thing, because the first thing they give these women is a phone so they can call 911. So it doesn't matter how old your cell phone is. Donate it to women's shelters. Donate clothes. There are things you can do even if you don't have the means to give money, or you can volunteer. All kinds of things. And
Yeah.
open up conversations if you think something's going on, or everybody. It's just, ever since I had a baby, I feel like so many people didn't tell me so many things. So now I just want to talk about everything, because we're all the same. We all have messy families. We all
Yeah.
have been in a messy relationship. And it's enough of, no, I'm staying here and I'm not listening to dirty laundry. And how everyone stays in their own space. It's like we have to become more of a village. We have to
Yeah.
help each other. And we have to help women like this.
Yeah. So kind of depressing, but
Yeah.
this is what we
Sorry,
do.
women and men, because men can be abused as well.
100%.
It's not just women, it's totally
100%.
men too.
100%. Any persons who's facing this.
Yes, thank you. That's much better.
So, but that's it for today. And again, a lot of the things we cover are kind of new and fresh and or ongoing. So we will keep you updated as we get updated on these things. And we will always post on our Instagram, Murder in Retrograde. And we cover briefly on TikTok some of these cases that we do, and Facebook and all that stuff. So follow us, like us, share us, tell a friend, spread the word.
Watch us on YouTube, comment, tell us what you want to hear about.
Yeah. And then
all that fun stuff.
That's pretty much it. So until next time,
be safe
and trust your gut. We'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Bye.